Okay, so we'll start recording.
Alright.
3, 2, 1. Hi! Hi, this is G, and welcome to a new episode of Beards and Beers. Today we have a special guest, Graeme Rocher, founder of Grails and Micronaut, and Todd and I want to deep dive a little bit in different topics around Micronaut.
In 2005, you began work on Groovy on Rails, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. From what I understand, you were asked nicely to change the name of the framework. Is that correct? Can you share a little bit about that story?
Like I said, Ruby on Rails was a inspirational framework for a lot of other frameworks and frameworks that emerged that had similar names, used different technology stacks, so David Heine Hansen went around emailing all these creators of these frameworks, including myself, and saying, please cease and desist.
Was it that nicely that he asked, or was it more like cease and desist or else?
No, there was no legal threat. It was a nice. Okay. It was a nicely composed email, and I felt a reasonable request. So that's fine. We changed the name.
Are those days of dynamic languages and all that runtime magic, are those days over, or do you think there's still a place for those kind of languages and runtime type, frameworks and languages?
For me, Groovy is a tool. It's another tool in your toolbox. I don't see these people that say, "Oh, dynamic languages are dead" or whatever. It's very much depends on your use case, right? Like for example, I'm still completely in love with Spock, and I write all my tests in Spock and Groovy, and certain things are, Grails itself is still a fantastic framework if you are building kind of CRUD apps,
monolithic things.
apps where you're doing the server-side rendering. It really provides like unparalleled productivity on the JVM, and that's what folks love about it. It's still a much loved and much used framework, and I'm sure will continue to be for that use case. Architecturally, microservices is not for everybody, for sure.
Right.
And neither is serverless, and neither is any of these things. So,
right.
Depending on what you're doing,
there's so many different jobs that need to be solved by developers and by programmers. For example, Jenkins and Gradle, these languages, use Groovy and or not languages, but these tools and languages and whatever you want to call them. There's still a huge place for Groovy. I use it to this day for any kind of simple like one-off scripts that I need to write. If I'm working with a CSV file or something, for example, locally that I just want to parse or do stuff like that, that's perfect for those kind of things. I would say even better than like Python or even Bash, just because it's so I don't know. It's not as verbose. It's not as
it's really expressive language.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for.
Like still to this day, if I mean I don't do a lot of XML parsing anymore, but if I did do a lot of XML parsing, I would like, if I had to do that in Java, that would be like a new level of hell probably. But compared to Groovy, that is.
Yes.
Which is like XML slurper, parse, and you have your XML document you can navigate and so forth.
Even JSON, parsing and slurping and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think the JSON libraries in Java are pretty good. Like Jackson is pretty good. It's not as like cut and dried. But I think in Groovy, if you need to do anything dynamic, like for example, if you need to do a lot of reflection or a lot of like that kind of dynamic kind of logic. Writing that stuff in Java is really hard compared to Groovy, and certain tasks are much harder, and that's what makes Groovy great, but it's just like another tool in your toolbox. And one that developers shouldn't ignore for certain things.
Getting back to Micronauts, huh? Because you mentioned two use cases, microservices and serverless. Is there any corner case that Micronaut can really fit well, other than these two?
So Micronaut is really a general application framework. So we have a focus on those two, microservices and serverless, because that's an area that has attracted a lot of interest in Micronaut, but it's really a general application framework. So we have folks that are building like command line applications with Pico CLI and native image, GraalVM native image with Micronaut. And we have folks that are just writing message-driven microservices that consume messages from a Kafka stream. We have folks that are, even building, UIs. We even got Micronaut working with the Glue guys on native image on mobile devices. So it really depends what you're doing. IoT is another use case where Micronaut can fit well, given memory constraints and so forth. So there's lots of it's not just microservices, right? It's a way that you structure your applications in a way that is memory efficient and doesn't suffer from the same memory problems as traditional frameworks.
Yeah, how is the learning curve? Because if you come from Springs and Grails, it shouldn't be a big handicap. But what about those people that doesn't have that background?
So, I obviously have a Spring and Grails background, so it's definitely optimized for those people. And, you look at the Java framework space, Spring is still immensely popular and certainly the most popular framework. So we focus on that majority. However, it shouldn't be that much of a challenge to get up to speed on. For somebody, most people have some experience of Java EE or Jakarta EE, as it's now called, or Spring, with both of which have concepts like dependency injection and so forth. So,
what can we expect from Micronauts and GraalVM in the future?
Oh, we're only really getting started with this. Micronaut has been public for like a couple of years now, and we still have a lot we want to do, both with GraalVM native image and Micronaut. There's still, we want to integrate it with more different messaging platforms. We want to integrate it with different types of databases, from document databases to graph databases, to all sorts of kinds of use cases in the database space. We want to make sure that Micronaut works well on, and native image works well on all the different cloud platforms. Starting with Oracle Cloud, but ensuring that it's cross-cloud solution that really works well as a cloud-independent platform. So whether you're deploying serverless applications to Oracle Cloud or to Lambda or AWS or whatever it may be, that it's the platform choice for doing that. And we're moving in that direction, and I think Micronaut provides a compelling solution for all of those spaces now, and is only going to improve in the future.
Absolutely. And there's also some really cool stuff, not to give spoilers here, but some really cool stuff Graeme's been working on with the Oracle Cloud and integrations and serverless specific to the Oracle Cloud. So stay tuned for those. Graeme, we greatly appreciate you coming on, buddy. Thanks for fighting through. You're a little bit under the weather this week, but we appreciate you hanging out. And as always, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers. Have fun.
Cheers.